Cognitive approaches variation. Now, within the cognitive approaches, there exist several variations. We will talk about only two main variations within the cognitive approach. So, we can divide the cognitive theorists in two main groups. Number one, those who deal with processing approaches, and the other group that deals with emergentist or constructionist approaches. So what are the differences between the two? Let's look at the processing approach first. So the cognitive theorists who deal with the processing approaches agree with the universal grammar that there is an innate capability within the learners to learn a language. So language knowledge is innate, but they aim to complement it or to support it with the language learning process theory. So in some way, it is an extension of what universal grammar claims. The emergentist cognitive theorists, on the other hand, reject the separation of transition theories and property theories. They are less interested in the difference between performance and competence that is underscored or that is highly valued by the universal grammar principles. So, emergentist or the constructionist theorists look at language learning process in a more holistic way, and they would like not to differentiate between the storing of the language and the use of language like universal grammar does, or which is done in a more complementary way by those dealing with the processability theories. So generally, both these theories say that language develops as learners move along a learning continuum. They keep on getting inputs regarding the examples of the language use, and that those examples of language use are committed to the memory. So they agree on that. Generally, both these different approaches within the cognitive approach also agree that children pick up very frequently patterns that they hear around them. So they pick up language in chunks which is committed to the memory, and based on the language that they pick up, they develop certain kinds of abstract rules. They make their own rules regarding how the language is used, and this rule making actually allows them to use language in a way that they have never seen other people use it, and to use language creatively. So once some sort of rule is developed in the mind of the child will use that rule to make up other different sentences which he or she has not heard before. They say that the complexity of learning emerges, that a more and more complex language learning emerges from associative learning processes, from a controlled or a way of somehow generating some sort of rules from the language that is coming in, and gradually these rules become more and more complex as they try them out and they see which one works and which does not work. They are both interested in psychological constraints in using the language. They talk about the learning memory. the use of noticing. They talk about short-term and long-term memory. They also are interested in aspects of attention and how paying attention can lead to, or not paying attention can affect language learning. So these are the areas of concern for the cognitive theorists. Although there might be differences between which specific aspects are picked upon by those dealing with process theories and those dealing with emergentist theories.